Horror games developed by both indie developers and AAA companies always end up inspiring things, both good and bad. However, not a whole lot of horror games or horror game series have inspired creative ideas in the way that Five Nights at Freddy's has. Five Nights at Freddy's was first released on August 8, 2014, and since then, its popularity has skyrocketed. All sorts of YouTubers were playing it, from both small, unknown people and large, well-known people.
Was that the bite of 87?
Eventually, people found out that FNAF wasn't just a creepy game where being aware of your surroundings is your only weapon. It had a bit more of a darker lore. FNAF continued to rise in success, coming out with 9 great games, with a 10th one on the way soon. By the way, just keep this in mind, Scott Cawthon made a vast majority of these games by himself, while Yondir Dev has been developing Yondir Simulator since 2014 and still hasn't completely finished it.
But I'm only one person.
Silence, Yondir Dev, and consume your cum chalice. Scott's over here getting a Guinness World Record for most game sequels released in a year. That is no longer an excuse. Anyways, FNAF's dark lore of murderers at a pizza place inspired not only great fan games, which Scott was actually really encouraging of these, but also great dark animations. One of these kinds of animations include the Walten Files. The Walten Files are a collection of animations made by Martin Walls that people have said is as disturbing of a video series as Petscop. Please, Pyro, where's Petscop 2? We're all asking for it, please! Anyways, this video is going to be in sort of the same format as my The Problem With series, in the sense that I'll be splitting the video into different parts based on what I'm reviewing. Starting with the first episode, titled Company Introductory Tape, was released on April 26, 2020, and starts off with an innocent-looking logo for Bond's Burgers, a restaurant made by Bunny Smiles Incorporated. It starts off with a bit of narration, indicating that this is a tape obviously made for new employees of Bond's Burgers, or just Bunny Smiles Incorporated in general. It eventually cuts to a scene that shows the outside of Bond's Burgers, before cutting to one that shows the animatronics singing. Now, while these animatronics look a bit creepy or abnormal, that's normal for animatronics in restaurants. I mean, just look at the Chuck E. Cheese animatronics. Do these not look just as creepy as these ones? The kids don't fucking care, dude. They just want the food and want to hear the funny songs from the Funny Bunny. The animatronics sing a few songs that are a bit creepy, especially with how in the Old MacDonald Had a Farm song, instead of the pig just snorting like most people are used to, it screeches like it was being slaughtered. We are then introduced to each member of the Showstoppers. Bon, the blue rabbit and face of the restaurant. Shaw, who I originally thought was a poodle, is actually a sheep. And Banny. No, not Vanny, Banny, the purple bunny. The tape goes on to explain that you, the employee, are known as the facility caretaker. The narrator tells you what your job tasks are, which include cleaning, robot maintenance and repair, and learning how to use the BSI, Bunny Smiles Incorporated, technology. I did find it a bit strange that the pitch for the snail, take me to snurch. I did find it a bit strange that the pitch for the narrator is significantly lower than normal when he talks about robot maintenance.
Cleaning protocols.
Robot maintenance and repair.
And learning how to use BSI technology.
We then get a small message from the founders of BSI, Jack Walten and Felix Kranken.
Which reads, in BSI, the most important thing to us isn't the money or the rating. The most important thing to us is that you have a wonderful experience while working with us.
It's not really apparent which one of them specifically is talking here, or even if it is one of them talking at all, but they expressed how they don't care about the money or the ratings, but more that the employee was happy. Basically what major corporations say to their employees so they don't quit within the first week. The tape glitches a bit after the founder's message, and it cuts to a new scene describing a bunker marked as a BSI storage facility in St. Juana's Forest. This facility is made for the storage of valuable items from closed for good Bond's Burger restaurants, Christ almighty, the amount of times I've accidentally said Bob's Burgers before saying the right name. The screen mentions some sort of incident or series of incidents in 1974, and that any and all machinery will be moved into this bunker for good. It also mentions that a facility caretaker will of course make sure the storage facility is cared for and kept safe. The message screen glitches for a few seconds and cuts to black. A gray unnamed rabbit pops up on the screen, and we can hear a reverse message being played that when I reversed and slowed down the audio, this is what I could kind of hear.
You finally start to remember. That's all, Bob. They will be back for you soon. Safety.
We don't know who Sophie is right now, since she isn't mentioned again until later in the episode. The message ends pretty abruptly, and it switches to an animation made by BSI titled Little Bond's Neighborhood. Episode of this animation, which I can only presume is meant for TV entertainment, is titled Bond's Super Sleepover. There is the number 27 on the door, but I don't think this actually has any major significance to the story. It could mean something that I managed to miss when reviewing the other episodes, but for now we'll just take it as a house number. The episode, much like the Walten Files itself, starts off innocently enough. Bond is reminiscing about his friends who he plans to have a sleepover with. The narrator of the animation tells about who Bond invited to this sleepover. Shaw, Boozoo, and Billy, a clown character who was not mentioned as being part of the showstoppers earlier. The narrator goes on to repeat the names of the invited people, much like how kids' channels will repeat things multiple times.
Whoa, it landed right on the X. Carter, you got it right on the X.
We're a kids channel, so we say everything twice. We're a kids channel, so we say everything twice.
And then this happens. Instead of Billy appearing as the third invited guest, an image of what looks like Jack Walten, one of the founders, takes his place, and Bond's eyes go black. After that bit of a creepy transition, the animation goes back to its normal, happy vibes. Only, however, for it to go straight back to the creepy vibes when the narrator talks about the movie that Bond is holding. It once again shows Jack Walten's face and the words home video scribbled on both the top and bottom of the case. Once again, the animation goes back to normal and Bond and his friends start watching the movie. And also, once again, the good vibes last for a few seconds before a disturbing message appears on the TV screen. Who could be saying this phrase? A victim or victims of the incident in 1974, maybe? I don't know. Some things we can also see around the TV include a Bond plush, a bottle of Bunny Smile soap, and a bottle of pills marked with the name Sophie Walten. It's not shown what the pills are for exactly, but we can only guess that the Sophie from the backwards message earlier and the Sophie the pills belong to are the same person. We're still not 100% sure who Sophie is just yet, but she is clearly related to Jack Walten in some way. It then kind of goes back to normal, showing each of the characters have fallen asleep, but the black background and distorted narration are still prominent. Bond wakes up and walks around the darkness with footsteps most likely taken out of FNAF 1. He eventually finds a missing poster on his TV of Jack Walten, but the eyes and mouth move independently from the rest of his face. The poster shows a missing sense message, but the video is so purposefully low quality that the date is very hard to read. Bond eventually finds a lighter on the floor, and after failing to turn it on 3 times, this happens. Now, me personally, this is a bit of a cheap jump scare. I mean, you'd have to be an absolute brainlet to actually get scared.
Riley, did you get scared by it?
No comment. The animation ends and goes into live footage from the perspective of someone who isn't named yet. So for now, we'll just call them Caretaker. Caretaker seems to be driving to the BSI storage facility as it is his job to take care of it and make sure no one has broken in. Caretaker enters the vault after a bit and the very first thing we hear is a scream. Yeah, because that's definitely what you want to hear when you enter a creepy-ass place. We can then see a damaged or decayed Bond animatronic in the darkness, and then a few seconds later we can see it partially lit by the flashlight. Suddenly, the Bond animatronic starts moving, seemingly on its own, and then it suddenly cuts to a different clip. In this semi-still image, we can see that Bond's teeth look pretty sharp compared to the Bond animatronic we saw earlier. I say semi-still due to how in a few seconds some out-of-place looking eyes appear and a black substance pours out of the sockets before the video fades to black. We then cut to footage of Caretaker running away, unknown for now if it's just to get away from the bunker in general or if he's actually being chased by something. But we do get our answer pretty soon. After we see what had been chasing him, the camera glitches out and we get this strange scene of this set of clay-made faces that constantly shifts to a different face.
Aha, Jonathan, you are banging my dog!
Suddenly, it cuts back to what looks like the mangled corpse of Caretaker. I was going to make a point about how during the jump scare from earlier, Caretaker looks very similar to that blonde-haired character from earlier, but then I realized it said Sophie on the hat, so it couldn't be the same person. We see a message pop up in the bottom right corner that says, "I can't feel anything," and "he thought I was her." The screen cuts to black, and eventually a name tag for Caretaker pops up, finally revealing his name as Brian Stills. And with that and some credits, the episode ends. Episode 2 starts up with an image of Bond in the same art style as the animation in Episode 1, wearing a hard hat and holding a hammer. Bunny Smiles Incorporated appears on the right side of the screen along with accompanied by Cyberfun Tech 1970 something. This is the only instance during all 3 of these episodes where the last digit of a year is blacked out. Why? What happened in this specific year that it needs to be bleeped out? After a couple of seconds of Bond waving to the screen, some text at the top flashes on the screen for a split second. From pausing it, it looks like the start of a YouTube link. I'll keep my eye out for any other parts of it, but until then, there's not really anything that we can make of this. It continues with narration that starts to explain what the relocation project is. There's a scene that shows Bond doing legal paperwork, and as funny as that is, there are also some strange looking files that show up in the next scene. The 3 files we see in the image are labeled Relocate, Storage K9, and Bond's Burgers. There is a 4th file near the back, but it's been censored out for whatever reason. We can also see that the Relocate file is the only one that doesn't have a full date. Also, near the bottom of the screen, it shows a label that is halfway off, and it looks like it says, "Jack is still something." One last thing. Notice how after the Bond's Burgers file, which has Jack's name on it, the other files just have the name Felix on them. After a cartoonish image of Bond leaning on a computer with what might be a cartoon version of Felix, it shows a very heavily damaged Bond animatronic waving at the camera. Why would they show this version to people to make them want to eat at Bond's Burgers again, instead of a less damaged or less terrifying looking version? After a few seconds, the footage glitches out a bit, making the already creepy looking animatronic 100 times creepier. It then cuts to a shot of Bond doing more paperwork, and then an 8-bit style of animation depicting that the animatronics were taken away to the storage facility. When the truck drives back after leaving the screen, however, we get this sudden darker scene, and there's a heavily distorted face in the window of the truck. Whenever I looked at it closer, it looked a little bit like Jack Walten. I'm not 100% sure if that's him, but for now I'm just gonna say it is. We then see a TV set, much like the one from the first episode's animation, that is surrounded with different things. They look innocent at first, but if you look closer at one of the items, we can see a VHS tape titled The Disappearance of Jack Walten. We can also see the movie that Bond was holding in Episode 1 in the background. It then cuts to an image of Felix Kranken, but something's a bit weird about the photo. We can already tell that it's the exact same image from the first episode of both Jack and Felix, but this time Jack has been cut out of the photo almost completely. You can still even see his arm in the picture. Could Felix have done something to Jack? I mean, in some of those cartoony shots, it shows Felix as the good guy in the situation. I really wouldn't be surprised if Felix had something to do with the disappearance of Jack, whether directly or not. It just seems like Felix himself is going out of his way to try and make it seem like he was the lone founder, and that Jack never even existed before. Right after this cartoony image of Felix, we get one of Jack for a few seconds, before it switches to a hard-to-see image of German 985's face. All jokes aside though, by brightening the image and raising the exposure level, I can tell that this is Jack's face, even if the image I put doesn't really look like it. The footage cuts and we are treated to a screen that says reprogramming phase, which is a part of the Relocate project. We then cut to a series of scenes where Banny is going through a series of tests for facial expressions, showing different expressions based on and off-stage events. Movement of the mouth while talking, blinking, being bored, being surprised, and even looking for customers. It isn't until after the showing of Looking for Friends that things get a bit weird. I thought at first the faces belonged to Jack, but after looking at it a bit, I realized it's not him. This is some other person who, based on how the FNAF lore is, was probably stuffed into Banny's suit. We then cut to a video game-esque scene where a lady is talking about what sounds like testing on rabbits. Show clip. Oh wait, I wasn't supposed to read that part.
The rabbit tries to find a way out of the cage, but it's unsuccessful. The rabbit keeps trying to find a way out, or at least catch the owner's attention. The mighty rabbit must get out. The mighty rabbit needs to 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 get out. The rabbit is starving. The rabbit is starving. The rabbit is starving. The rabbit is starving.
After the words, "the rabbit is starving," repeats while Banny stares at the viewer for a few moments, it cuts to footage of rabbits running around in a field. During this, we see an image of a decayed Banny animatronic in the middle of a screen, before the background footage cuts to black. Banny still standing there. Eventually, we get a close-up shot of Banny's face, and a song starts to play in reverse while Banny's face gets more and more decayed looking, before it cuts to a drawing of a purple rabbit in a cage. Right afterwards, we get a hard-to-see missing persons poster, and we can see it's a missing person poster for Susan Wooding. This might be the person whose face we saw over Banny's during the facial expression testing earlier. We then get a slideshow of different images of Bond's Burgers animatronics, one of the shots showing an endoskeleton, and another showing that unnamed gray rabbit from the first episode. We are then introduced to what seems like a technical support instruction video hosted by Shaw, talking about the layout of the storage facility. It tells you that you'll need to wear the BSI uniform, which looks a lot like the uniform of a certain someone. It then also talks about needing the BSI ID card and cuts to Brian Still's ID card for a moment before returning to the instructional video. A flashlight because the animatronics don't pay the electricity bill, snacks of some kind, a key that the person given it has no clue what it's for, a camera to record the animatronic testing, and the head of a missing person. Wait, is that not supposed to be in there? Don't give me that look, I thought it was. We then get a look at the inside of the bunker after a fake-out jump scare, which made me turn down my volume at speeds I never knew I could even accomplish.
Wow, it's pretty dark here. You should turn on the light. Turn on the light. Turn on the light. Turn on the...
The first room we are introduced to is the resting room. Basically, it's just like a lobby for a dentist office, if the dentist office was partially underground and filled with creepy animatronics that may or may not be possessed by the dead. Shaw leaves the room after describing it, and before the screen goes completely black, we see a dark figure pop up. We're not yet sure who this could be, though. We are then introduced to what is referred to as the main hallway. This area has 3 doors. Door 1 has cleaning items and supplies. Door 2 contains merchandise and prizes for the prize corner. And door 3, well, I think Shaw puts it better than I can.
The third door is used to hide...
Yeah, that. It then cuts to the next room, known as the basement. This scene starts off by fading from black, and we can see a silhouette of what looks like the puppet from FNAF 2, and of course some more reversed audio. When I re-reverse this audio and slow it down, I got this.
Rosemary would go to the restaurant every night hoping that his beloved husband would reappear after being missing for weeks. But no response until one day she heard a voice saying, "I know where she is, Rosie. coming from the backstage.
We're not sure who Rosemary is, but by how she goes to the restaurant constantly in hopes of her husband to reappear after going missing, I would say that she's most likely the wife of Jack Walten. The basement is used as a main storage area and contains arcade machines and extra tables.
Please follow me to the next door.
How am I supposed to follow you? It then cuts to a still image of Bond and Shaw before going back to the video, showing some of the powered down animatronics. Cartoon Shaw talks in a strangely deeper voice before going back to the basement room. Notice how the Shaw poster we saw before she went into the animatronics room now has blacked out eyes. Cartoon Shaw enters the room, starts crying, and then the video glitches when she tries to leave. We end up back in the room, and the Shaw poster has now changed to an image of some girl who we can only guess was stuffed into the Shaw animatronic due to this next clip.
Sophie, where am I?
It then cuts to an animation where Rosemary, the one stuffed into the Shaw animatronic, is killed.
Instead, she found a rabbit.
Rose broken will fix you. You will beautiful. You will beautiful. You will beautiful.
When she woke up, she looked beautiful.
We then get a scene that shows the damaged Shaw animatronic slowly becoming more covered in blood and spazzing out, and we get a small jump scare and another hard to see missing persons poster with the name Rosemary. With this poster, not even brightening it or doing any other editing mumbo jumbo doesn't let me see the last name, but we know that this is Jack Walten's wife due to the short animation prior, and so we can safely say that this is Rosemary Walten. We get a bit of a static cut, and we are provided with this message. The following footage was recorded during July 1978, 0712 to 0714, on which 3 Bunny Smiles technicians volunteered to stay 3 days in the BSI storage facility for the purpose of reprogramming the animatronics in order to execute the Relocate project. After the message, we get introduced to the 3 volunteers mentioned, Hillary B., Ashley P., and Kevin W., who looks a bit like John Lennon as a cartoon. These 3 were sent to restore the animatronics in order to make progress on executing the Relocate project. It cuts to video footage of the bunker after a brief message, starting off with Ashley giving some exposition. Kevin then proceeds to say how it reminds him of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, most likely zoned out while Ashley was talking.
We're completely absent and the current's opposed.
Wow, this place kind of reminds me of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It then cuts to the volunteers testing Shaw's functionality, both Ashley and Kevin arguing about how long they should be trying to restore her.
That's the point of this whole project, right? I think we should restore as much as we can, don't you think?
Yes, but if we keep focusing on these small details, the reprogramming of the robots won't be finished.
It then cuts to another scene where they are testing and repairing Bond, whose teeth and fingers have definitely gotten a lot sharper than what I remember. From what Hillary says, it seems like someone purposefully damaged the Bond animatronic.
Eye sockets are really damaged. Almost as if someone did this intentionally.
It then suddenly cuts to the 3 volunteers preparing to go to sleep in the bunker with the animatronics in the dark. This is definitely a good idea. Ashley then mentions the key to the others, explaining how the company never told them what it was for.
Have you noticed how the company gives us this tiny key but never mentions its purpose?
You just overlook stuff.
I mean, why would they give us a key with no use whatsoever?
Exactly.
She does honestly bring up a good point though. Why would BSI give them a key for the bunker trip but not explain what it's for? It's not even explained during the items you'll need section in the BSI training video clip from earlier. Why give the volunteers a key if you're not going to tell them what it's for? The 3 go to sleep somehow and wake up the next day to continue the testing and reprogramming of the animatronics. Kevin gives an explanation of how the reprogramming phase was unsuccessful due to the lack of resources and a time constraint. Hillary says how they wish they can come back, hopefully with some better equipment and more time. It then cuts to a POV of Ashley, apparently alone, because, you know, that always works out for people. She goes to try and find out what the key is for while Kevin and Hillary are sleeping. This is obviously filmed before the last day, as Kevin mentions. She believes that the key could be a lifesaver.
I know you guys told me not to wander around, but I genuinely think this small key could be a lifesaver.
She finds that the key leads to a door labeled as back doors and goes inside to see if there's anything interesting inside. She ends up finding several doors labeled with numbers, saying she was gonna pick random doors to see what she can find. The first door she enters seems to have endoskeletons and parts, most of the items inside having a label on them saying scrapped. We don't know why these parts are scrapped, but I doubt there's a whole song and dance about why, so we'll just kind of pass it off for now. She enters the second room and, to be quite honest, when I originally watched this, the face, which looks like Buzu's, made the hair on my neck stand up. The room seems to have spare heads for the animatronics and a cardboard cutout of Bond during the training video we saw earlier. She enters the third room and it has an animatronic of the gray rabbit we've seen a couple of times before this.
Yeah, this is bizarre.
Is bizarre the only word that comes to your mind when you saw this? Because unsettling and possibly homicidal is what popped into my head when I saw it. You know, that's just me. Before it cuts to the next room, the video footage gets a bit deep fried before cutting to black. We enter the fourth room, and this is the very first thing we see. This was made to entertain children?
There's absolutely no way I'm getting close to that thing.
You know what? That's probably the smartest thing you've said during this entire trip. She then finds a cassette tape that has the word discard written on it. There's also a date written on it near the top. June 11th, 1970 something. This tape might be related to the censored out you we saw way earlier near the beginning of this episode.
I'm pretty sure that clown thing had a cassette player installed, so I guess I don't have to be brave enough.
You dumb fuck! She puts the cassette tape into Billy, and it almost immediately starts playing a birthday song. The mouth of the animatronic moving in a very unnerving way. The song starts catching onto a loop, and then Billy starts playing a recording of someone saying names, the saturation being increased slowly.
Jack, Susan, Charles, Rosemary, Sophie.
It says the names Jack, Susan, Charles, Rosemary, Sophie, and then one more that, when I put it into reverse, says Susie. The lights then turn off completely, and for a while we can only hear Ashley's scared breathing before this happens.
I know you guys told me not to wander around, but I genuinely think this small key could be a lifesaver.
So, how did that work out for you? We then cut back to the image from earlier, but this time Hillary and Kevin are blacked out, and Ashley is now frowning. Ashley's face in the image becomes more smudged out as she could be heard screaming in the background before it abruptly cuts to a close-up of Billy. The animatronic starts talking, introducing himself, and speaking a reverse message.
Hello, I'm Billy, the funny movie clown. Do I see you, son? If not, then we're in Bill. The blind fortune teller speaks with knowledge, but never with content.
I have no clue what this means, but it seems to be a small poem that might relate to a certain character in the series, but I'm not sure who exactly. Suddenly, Bond's hand comes from off screen and pulls the face of Billy off, revealing Ashley's bloodied and disfigured face underneath. A message pops up on the screen for a split second, and this is what the message reads. The part where it says, "She saw something she wasn't supposed to see," is what really kinda caught my attention. Remember how earlier I mentioned that Felix may have been responsible for Jack's disappearance? Maybe Felix had something to do with this too. That might explain why they aren't told what the key was for and why discard was written on the tape. This brings up a new question though. If Felix wanted to hide whatever he did to Jack, why would he give the volunteers a key that leads to something they aren't supposed to see? The question goes unanswered, however, as this episode ends with some credits and a screenshot of what looks like an 8-bit game. We do also get the rest of that link I mentioned earlier, and when I put it into my search bar, this is what I found. It's an unlisted video by Martin Walls titled Lucky You. It's a bit of a shorter video, and it starts off in the same way that episode 1 starts off with, but there's no music of any kind. Only a quiet static noise. The words opening day 06/28/1974 is at the bottom of the screen. We get some small still image shots and video clips, both from the first episode and some we haven't even seen yet. dates and descriptions popping up at the bottom for each. It cuts to black with another date at the bottom, and to be honest, I actually got scared by the sudden appearance of Bond's face because I was 2 inches away from my screen trying to see if there was anything in the dark. We finally get some dialogue while flashes of the characters' faces pop up on the screen, telling us to not try and solve the puzzle with only the pieces we have so far.
You must be so confused about what you saw. Don't be scared, my little bunny. Answers will be given eventually, but don't try to solve this puzzle only with the pieces you have so far.
I think I know who this message was made for. The narrator also repeats the line, "Safety in pills, Sophie," while clips and images from past episodes play, showing both Brian Stills and Ashley's deaths. A purple and white bear fades onto the screen as the narrator continues repeating the lines, before it immediately cuts to the pills we've seen before for a few seconds. Oh yeah, and a jump scare. Probably should have mentioned that before. A string of text appears over the still image, talking about how someone, I'm not sure who is speaking here, made them beautiful. You know, potato made them beautiful, brutally killed a person and stuffed them into an animatronic suit. They sound the same. It also mentions how they're trying to tell us what happened before we see an endoskeleton and a new string of text start to pop off, seeming a bit more sinister and colored in red this time. The video ends with the message, "They will see you soon, Sophie," popping up, and then music playing with just a black background. Now, that isn't the only short with some relation to the Walten files. From what I could find and know about, there are 3 others. Commercial, The Mystery House, and Boozoo's Ghost. 2 of these shorts, The Mysterious House and Boozoo's Ghost, don't actually pertain to the Walten files storyline. But I just decide, hey, these are kinda creepy, might as well, right? The first short is an actual short, only being 1 minute 50 seconds long, and it's just titled Commercial. From the start of the animation, this is a commercial for a Bond's Burgers based arcade game made by Bunny Smiles Games called Bunny Farm, which is also the title for episode 3 of the Walten files. It looks like a puzzle solving game, which honestly looks pretty advanced for it being released in or around 1982. For most of the commercial, it's actually pretty innocent.
Come and play with us. It'll be lots of fun, 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 lots of fun.
Well, I spoke too soon. After that weird bit of mess, it goes back to being semi-innocent and then almost immediately gets a bit dark with the message at the end.
I've been trying to come back to you.
It's a voice saying, "I'm trying to come back to you." This could be a message from Jack Walten to Sophie, but we're still not 100% sure on that. The next short is titled The Mysterious House and starts off with a logo we haven't seen yet, MW Animation Studios. It cuts to a title card with the name of the video and a pumpkin, who I originally thought was a messed up image of Billy before realizing what it actually was. Oh boy. The animation starts off with 4 buildings, including Bond's building from episode 1, shown by the number 27 on... Who the fuck are you?
This year's Halloween sucked. We barely got any candy.
Maybe it's because your costume looks cheap and basic. What kind of ghost looks like that? You didn't even try.
At least I have a costume.
You know I don't like dressing up for Halloween.
Alright. Let's stop fighting. There's still plenty of time to get candy. We just gotta find a good house.
Yeah, the night's not over yet.
Okay, that was a bit weird. It's not that bad though. Oh no. We get this image of a missing poster for Johnny Bear, who was apparently last seen on Halloween in 1978. I actually almost didn't notice this at first, but there's actually a person standing behind Johnny with their hand on his shoulder. We then cut to a scene in front of a bus stop, where both of the characters, whose name we still don't know just yet, have apparently gotten a lot of candy. The duck says the name of the blue wolf, which is Tenny, I think. I'm not really 100% sure.
Yeah, that was so cool, Tenny.
He mentions how it's starting to get late and that they should go home, but Tenny manages to persuade Ducky, the duck, easily by calling him a bitch.
Visited yet? Don't tell me you're scared about trick-or-treating.
Okay, well maybe not those exact words, but we all knew what she meant.
Let's just visit a few more houses and then go home.
Alright. Oh, what about that one? one.
Tenny, are you fucking serious? You picked one of the most unsettling houses to go to. Not even the moonlight is touching it properly. Why would you go there? They get to the house and a sheep answers the door with a text-to-speech voice that's honestly pretty unsettling sounding.
Come in, come in. We have candy for you too, silly bunnies.
Also, why would a company air this to kids? Oh, you want candy? Come on in, nothing bad will happen. Seems like Ashley saw this part of the cartoon and took some fucking notes. We get inside and are introduced to some other characters. Billy, who we already know, TVA, yes, hi, and the pumpkin rabbit. When the sheep names the last character, the music suddenly stops.
And the pumpkin rabbit.
Tenny and Ducky ask for candy, which they receive, and TVA takes a picture, Pumpkin Rabbit giving a bit of a strange explanation as to why.
Sorry about that. We like taking pictures of our guests every year. That way we'll never forget them.
We then see pictures of other Halloween guests, including one of Johnny Bear from the Missing, Riley, not misting, you fucking tot. Including one of Johnny Bear from the Missing poster. We only get to see that picture for a few seconds before it cuts to black, however. The two characters get their candy and tell the others goodbye, but the sheep tells them that it would be dangerous for two kids to go alone at this hour of the night, as if staying with basically complete strangers is any better.
I have an idea. Why don't you two stay here for the night?
No, the two of them end up sleeping there anyways. Ducky waking up shortly after, I guess, hearing a noise we, the viewers, don't get to hear. After Ducky leaves, we're left in the room with the sleeping Tenny for an unsettling amount of time before she's eventually woken up by what sounds like Ducky. Tenny opens the door and we can see both the image of the two characters getting their candy from earlier, along with the picture of Johnny. Good lord, what the fuck is that? During the entire sequence where Tenny is asking Billy questions, I was actually expecting a jump scare, but was surprised when it never came. Tenny opens a door and goes inside, seeing several doors much like whenever Ashley went into the back rooms in episode 2. She opens the first door and we can see someone fade into sight in the background right before it cuts to the empty room. She then opens the second door, and not only is the figure closer, but we can see that it looks a lot like Shaw. But not the cartoon version of her, the animatronic version. The room is empty, except for a picture that we don't get a close-up of, but we can still tell it's a picture of someone receiving candy. Alright, bit of a pause, but I didn't realize this until I was editing this part. But that's a picture of Tenny and Ducky getting the candy from earlier. I just didn't realize it was them though, because Ducky was actually blacked out of the image. So, sorry about, me not realizing that until just now. I just want to go ahead and let y'all know that I literally just now realized that. I'm blind. Tenny opens the third and final door, and the Shaw animatronic is considerably closer than last time. Inside, we only see a dark abyss, with Ducky appearing for a few moments before being swallowed by the darkness again. We then get a shot of Tenny standing in the dark room, the Shaw animatronic sliding into the door frame in the background. Shaw shuts the door behind Tenny, and we get another look at Ducky. What? It's just Ducky? Oh my god! Tenny is rightfully distraught at Ducky's death and turns around to see more victims. A jester-looking person, Johnny Bear, a red wolf, or fox, I don't really know. All or some who were seen in the pictures from earlier. Tenny then turns around to see the pumpkin rabbit, but he's looking a bit more animatronic and lifelike than before. This version seems to have more realistic human-looking teeth and has no eyes whatsoever. He tells Tenny that she must be punished for being a bad bunny. Okay, Discord mod. And starts to take off his mask to reveal, well, this. Then the screen cuts to black and did I get you? The screen then goes back to black for a while before we see Tenny's mangled and bloody face, the words "The End" fading in over it. With that, the short ends with some end credits. The last animation I could find is called Boozoo's Ghost, and Okay, it just starts off with that. After a few seconds of just a black screen, we are shown an image of 2 snowmen with the words feature presentation in the bottom right. It basically starts off like the last video, presenting itself like a TV show, showing a blank presents title card, followed by the title Buzu's Ghost before it... okay. I would also like to mention that Que Sera is playing in the background of this part. And I immediately recognized it because I've watched Mary and Max at least 3 times. Great movie, by the way. I recommend it. We get some narration that might be Martin Walls himself. Don't quote me on that. That explains that we'll be witnessing a Christmas story featuring Buzu, which seems like a sort of retelling of The Nightmare Before Christmas. Wait, no, not Nightmare Before Christmas. We get a look inside of Buzu's toy shop, a toy store owned by Buzu. Duh. And the first couple of characters we see seem to be Tenny and Ducky from the last video we looked at, except, well, you know, not dead. We also see a Bon and Shaw toy on the counter, some pictures of Buzu, the murder house, and, that. Here, hold on. Why did the script suddenly include more jokes or less serious talk about the animations? So what if they don't pertain to the actual story? It shouldn't mean that we just make the review more silly all of a sudden. Fine, but... you know, the script for the next review better either be serious with a light amount of jokes or funny with a light amount of serious. Like, dude, that makes no sense to just have it suddenly be more funny. We get a scene where Banny is cleaning the store and accidentally knocks a cup off the shelf, breaking it and making Buzu angry. Buzu tells Banny that he will be taking part of her paycheck for breaking the cup, to which Banny tries to convince him not to since it's Christmas Eve, and it would make it harder to feed her family. Buzu, of course, still does this anyway because he's a dick. We then get another shot with a doorbell ringing and Buzu answers the door, and we see a character that is going around to collect money for charity. I actually paused it to write that last line and noticed that in the background. I don't know if it's meant to be trees or something, but my, oh, that's a spooky thing, brain noticed it, and so I made a note of it. Buzu, like the Scrooge he is, takes money out of the donation cup, which is probably why they now have coin slots and locks for the Salvation Army buckets, and claims, "This is my store, and I can do anything I want." Once again, parodying Christmas Carol. Buzu then gets ready to go to sleep before he hears a weird noise coming from off the screen. Ho ho ho, Santa's coming to fuck you up! Buzu starts by doing what every horror movie character should do by not investigating the sound and goes to sleep. After a while though, he's woken up by some strange music that I thought at first only the viewers were gonna hear. Buzu decides to get up and investigate the music, not turning any lights on while he walks through the dark hallway. He then sees that someone has set up a Christmas tree in his living room, and may I add that he has some interesting interior decoration ideas. He then sees the 3 presents under the tree, and despite saying he doesn't even celebrate Christmas,
Where did all this come from? I don't even celebrate.
Decides to open them. The first present he opens, with white and red wrapping, contains the new Xbox Series X. Oh, wait, sorry, it actually just has a clown toy inside. He picks up the clown toy. Oh, no. He picks up the clown toy and the room he's in suddenly goes dark, startling him. A door appears in front of him with a picture of a clown on it. He kind of just stares at the door before knocking on it, telling someone to open the door for him. Did you even try the doorknob? The door, like most doors do when you yell at them, starts to emit crying sounds. The door then opens and he walks inside. The crying persists as he wanders through the darkness before seeing the same present he opened to cause this door to appear.
Hello. Come closer.
I really don't want to be honest. Buzu, being a bit more brave than I am, comes closer to the present, which opens itself, revealing a sad clown. The clown reveals himself to be the ghost of Christmas past, and is here to take Buzu to the past to show him something as punishment for being a bad person. Buzu tries to lie to the ghost, and is punished by being put into a sudden musical, with the visual starting off with flowers dying. Yay! This musical basically shows past things that Buzu has done that was very bad. Stealing the charity money, telling Banny he was gonna shorten her paycheck for an accident, being bald. After the musical, the clown pulls out a snow globe that shows why Boozoo hates Christmas, which is because no one ever gave him any presents. Boozoo keeps denying that he has to admit anything, which makes the clown become more unsettling and makes ominous music start to play.
I'm telling the truth!
Okay, maybe unsettling was a bit of an understatement. Okay, it was definitely an understatement. Holy fuck! Boozoo then wakes up from an apparent nightmare, and then he hears laughing coming from somewhere in the house. As we can see, Boozoo's bedroom door changes into one with a clown-looking sheep on it that Boozoo goes to and opens. He walks inside and the door shuts behind him. You'd think with what he saw last time, he would have just said fuck it and jumped out of his bedroom window. He gets startled by the louder sound of a baby crying and sees a very creepy baby doll laying on the floor. He walks past it only to see more very unsettling toys, partially covered by the darkness. Boozoo then stops as he sees what looks like a toy of himself, which then gets grabbed by the clown sheep we saw on the door. This one doesn't seem to speak, but we Jesus.
I am the jolly ghost of present times.
Yeah, that. She says that she will show who's God damn it! She says that she will show Boozoo the consequences of his actions, getting too close for comfort when he tries to deny that he did anything wrong, and roasts the shit out of him.
I am your mirror, the reflection of your own flaws, the living representation of your own greed. Except I'm nowhere near as ugly.
She pulls out a small TV that shows a depiction of Banny not being able to feed her siblings or give them any Christmas presents, which of course makes him feel guilty, especially when she follows it up with this.
They'll all be dead eventually if you keep wasting your life away.
Jesus Christ. After a bit of back and forth with the ghost of Christmas present, Boozoo looks down and notices two presents with eyes staring out at him. He then asks the ghost what's in the presents, to which she just says, "You'll see." No, not again! Oh, okay, it's just a nice little present. Well, maybe this one won't be so... Fuck. Hey, I really don't like these presents, Mrs. I mean, I love these presents. Thank you. Please don't murder me. She tells Boozoo that the two dolls are dying and that it's his fault before disappearing into the darkness, leaving Boozoo with the dolls. They both start talking after a few moments of silence, which actually kind of made me jump a little bit. But most of what they're saying becomes incomprehensible as most words overlap with each other.
Stop it!
Was it seriously that easy? Huh. I didn't think that would be. Boozoo begins to beg the dolls to stop, to which this time they don't listen until he shouts at them. The ghost seen behind him. Okay, maybe shouting at them wasn't the best idea. The two dolls start to die, which makes Boozoo beg the ghost to not let them die, which she replies with,
"Your actions are out of my control, old man. This is it. It's your turn."
My turn!
The ghost leaves Boozoo in the dark alone after giving him the threatening message, and clock tower bells start to toll, frightening Boozoo. They stop and then are replaced with happier sounding music, and Boozoo sees a door in the distance. The door opens and BAH! Probably thought there was gonna be a jump scare there, huh? Nah, we actually just hear the sound of a wind-up toy being wound, and then released. Okay, maybe it's not a toy. Buzu walks to the door and peeks inside, seeing nothing but a dark room. He enters it and sees, oh, it was a toy, okay. Buzu picks it up and inspects it while the inspiration of the toy slowly sneaks up behind him. The creature introduces himself and we get a cut of Buzu from behind, and I actually didn't notice this until someone had pointed it out, but it looks like there's a very transparent suit and tie on his back. I'm not really sure what this could mean, but I of course thought it would just be worth pointing it out. Okay, so Edders know, I actually ended up seeing the post that pointed this out to me again and finally noticed the face, which I'm pretty sure is actually the same face used by Squimpus McGrimpus. Buzu asks the creature if he is the ghost of Christmas future, but the creature only replies with this.
I am mortality.
Obviously, I could have just said the name of the person, but, you know, he did a lot cooler and creepier than I could manage. Mortality tells Buzu that this is it, essentially telling him that he is going to die. This obviously upsets Buzu, but that doesn't stop Mortality? I wrote mortality in the script, god damn it. But that doesn't stop Mortality from continuing to taunt the crying man, telling him he had always been running from his problems. Buzu attempts to apologize, but Mortality tells him it is too late to say sorry and tells him that his future awaits behind the door, an image of the creature placed on it. Buzu, of course, walks to the door with Mortality disappearing behind him, and he attempts to ask the creature if he's going to be okay, to which he obviously gets no response. Buzu opens the door and walks into a room full of light, which is definitely better than the rooms of darkness he had walked through earlier. We see images of the clown doll, the Buzu doll, and the Mortality toy before Buzu is transported back into his toy shop, happy that he isn't dead. He sees Banny and exclaims that he is happy to see her, but she doesn't respond, keeping her back to him.
Banny?
Oh, hey, boss. I was wondering where you were.
Oh, never mind. I guess she was just lagging.
It's good to see you're okay.
Spoke too soon. I definitely spoke too soon. Banny turns completely black before we hear a doorbell ring. Buzu opens the door and sees that it's the charity kid from earlier, but they are also completely black. She hands him a piece of paper, which is shown to be his obituary. Buzu lowers the paper and we see that the kid is now mangled as well, reaching out to touch him. He runs away and cowers in a corner, the walls of his shop oozing a black substance. It then cuts to a shot of the window, which after rewinding it a few times, I actually noticed that Mortality is staring through the window. After Buzu begs for this to all stop, we then get a clearer look of Mortality in the window. We also get a bit of a jump scare that not only made me scream, but also made me tear up a little bit. It really didn't help that I was watching this part in almost complete darkness at 3 in the morning. The entire room gets shrouded in black. The only thing really visible is Buzu, and he opens his eyes to see that he is basically in an abyss. Buzu says how he just wants to go home, and Mortality fades in from the darkness from behind him, telling him once again that this is it. Buzu once again begs for his life before the white outline of a child comes out of nowhere. Mortality reveals that it is actually Buzu as a child, and proceeds to kill the kid right in front of him. The ghosts of Christmas present and past appear in front of Buzu, but they refuse to help him as they seem to be under the control of Mortality. Buzu then proceeds to ask the dumbest question in this situation that makes even Mortality look at him funny.
What are you going to do?
You're a fucking idiot.
Mortality holds out a present towards Buzu, which he takes and opens. We get a look inside, and it's the clock that we saw at the very start of this video. The clock ticks for a bit before ringing, and Buzu is killed, melted, and turned black, most likely by Mortality's power. We are then put into Buzu's bedroom after a short black screen, where we see a bright light coming from the doorway. We then get a close-up of Buzu's corpse in bed, a sensor bar covering most of his face. I'm pretty sure that this is one of the only times something like this is censored, and it kind of worries me. Just about every single gory death and gruesome image has gone uncensored, except for this one, and I'm scared to know why.
But he was gone, and thus, our story ends. Hope this teaches all of you little children a lesson.
Yeah, it taught me not to be a greedy asshole on Christmas Eve, or a creepy murdered dog rabbit will melt me. We then cut to a scene with the clown toy, Buzu toy, and Mortality toy all under Buzu's Christmas tree, and the words, "The End," pop up on the screen. We get an end credits sequence showing the Mortality wind-up toy walking around in circles, and I was fully expecting something to happen during the credits that would have scared the shit out of me, and was very relieved when nothing happened. I was originally gonna also put my review of episode 3 in this video, but I decided against it since the third episode is almost an hour long. I will of course make a separate video for that episode. Now, in my honest opinion, this series so far is great. It reveals enough so you have a bit of a clue what's going on, but not so much that you just solve the mystery within 5 seconds. The shorts, even though 2 of them don't actually pertain to the Walten Files story, are still terrifying and great pieces of work that I loved. In regards to this being similar to Petscop, I would say it's not that much alike. It's alike in the sense that it's a mysterious group of events where strange and scary things happen, but its main difference is how it's presented. Petscop is presented in a way where you think this was actually a game, since its main premise is to make you think that this is some mysterious one-of-a-kind game that was made by a seemingly fake company. Walten Files, on the other hand, at least, with the first 2 episodes, is presented more like a TV show with the end credits being present at the end of each episode. This does not mean it's a bad series, however. In fact, I am very excited to see the future episodes. According to the description of Martin Wall's Season 1 trailer, there's gonna be 9 more episodes coming out. Of course, when more episodes are released, I will make more videos reviewing them. I'll also start working on the script for the episode 3 review soon. However, don't expect it to be out super soon, as it takes a while for me to make these. That is a promise I will of course keep. Unlike someone... Ow. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video, as this took a long time to review, script, record, and edit this together. If you didn't, that's okay too. I mostly just did this video because this series genuinely piqued my interest, and I wanted to make a sort of analysis video on it. Once again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and like I put in the description below, if you have any questions about the video, make sure you just leave them in the comments, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. Huh. I thought for sure something bad was gonna happen. I don't remember my room being this... God damn it! Whatever, I can weirdly still see a little bit. Ah!
Yeah, 24/7, yeah, 365, waited too long, yeah, now it's my shine, I'm stunning when I'm running in the limelight, you steady running your mouth, cause I rhyme tight, 24/7, yeah, 365, waited too long, yeah, now it's...
What's your name, sir?
My name is Deez.
Deez what, sir?
Deez nuts!